So I'm editing this video you just saw for a client about a month ago, and I was pretty heavy into the sound design portion of the edit, and I decided to go extra hard and just put tons of effort. And I always sound design my videos, but I had two options. I could just throw in a couple big main sound effects underneath the soundtrack, or I could sound design the whole thing and just try to make it sound like a gosh dang IMAX movie. So I went with the latter, and it took forever, but I was sitting there thinking, after I watched it, it made such a massive impact on how the video felt. And honestly, it just made the visuals like look better, but I didn't do anything to the visuals. So I had the thought of just making a video to share the importance of sound design and just how much of an impact it has on your videos. And it's just like good editing. If you do it well, no one will notice. And it's kind of a thankless thing. So anyway, I've got this edit here, and I wanted to take you guys through it and break it down, kind of show you what I did and why I did it. So first, let's just watch it with no sound whatsoever, no soundtrack, no voiceover, no sound design. This is kind of what you have here. Same visuals. Now let's watch it again with just sound design.
Saddam Hussein.
I already want to watch like the whole thing. Like earlier I got bored pretty quick. It's just so much better. And then here's with the soundtrack, and I'll leave the voiceover off just because it's unimportant right now. So this is everything together mixed. It's almost really like the soundtrack isn't even the main focus. It's just like a good mix of all of it, you know, with the soundtrack, the sound effects, everything. The sound effects aren't just in the background, they're like really part of the video, sometimes right up close in your face, sometimes not. I find that really interesting how when you start sound designing, it doesn't, you know, it's not something that's like an afterthought. It's not something that's in the background or it's the quietest thing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it really drives the video right up front. And the soundtrack is almost kind of a support item in there, where a lot of people, I think, when you start out, you can get caught up in the soundtrack being the main thing with the visuals. So now we've seen the impact it has in the video, I want to go over where I get my sound. So there's a paid resource and then there's free resources. We'll start with the free since everyone likes free stuff. I go to freesound.org. Awesome website. You have to be careful on commercial use. Just make sure you read the description. And the other one is just YouTube. There's a lot of royalty-free, sometimes commercial use accounts that post sound effects, things like that, and you can just download it in the link in the description. Just make sure you have rights to it depending on what your project is. The two paid resources I use are Artlist. I have Artlist Max finally. It's a hefty price tag, but I finally upgraded and got it. And they've got great music. I've been using music from them for the last like 2 years. But it's a great library of sound effects. They've got everything you could possibly imagine. The other resource is Lens Distortions, and that costs about $50 a month, I think. I think they're the best curated resource out there for sound effects. They don't have as many sound effects, but they're always adding more, so that makes the price tag feel a little bit better, that you know they're always gonna build that library and it's just gonna get bigger and more beneficial to you. And their sound effects are just already cinematic. They've already got the reverb and the depth and the movement to them, kind of like how you would want them to sound, but you don't have to process them in your editor. For the most part, you can just kind of tweak the volume and plug and play. It's awesome. So Lens Distortions is a great resource. So now you know where to get your sounds. I want to just kind of go through the video, break it down, show you what sounds I used and why I used them, and how you can effectively use these sound effects to really drive the energy and give your video a lot of depth. Okay, so first things first, I want to show you the music I used. I always find a song that I like for the whole video, and I try to stick to that one song. Sometimes I'll mix two songs together if they're in the same key, or if I have a good break where I can change keys. However, I went with Look to the East, from Track Club. If you don't know what Track Club is, it's another great resource for music. But what's special about them is you can break your song down into stems. So they give you all the stem tracks for the song. And if you don't know what a stem track is, it's basically every instrument and everything unmixed from that song. So if you don't want the drums in it, you can take the drums out. If you don't want vocals, you can take those out. You could only have the strings or the electric guitar or whatever you want, and you can take things out and leave things in, and then download that from the website. You don't even have to do it in an editor. It's all on the website. You make it sound how you want, and then you download it. It's an awesome website. Up and coming. I think they're going to be a huge competitor, especially with the stem track editor on their website. And right off the bat, we have this thing called Event Horizon in F sharp. So that gives us a cinematic ding right off the bat. It's using a lot of cinematic trailers, things like that. So I feel like it really kind of gets us right into the video with some good energy. And then after that, it's just some realistic kind of Foley sounds. The grass going and the wind, and it's very heightened though. I like to almost make it feel like we're like an insect flying right up to the sound, or like we have super hearing. And then on that part right there with his face, like there's like an exhale sound effect I threw in there, and it's very reverby. It's got a lot of echo to it. It's kind of like distant. And I think that gives sounds a more depth and more cinematic kind of feel to him. And he's not literally exhaling in this shot. His eyes are closed. He's trying to find some peace. So I believe in using sound effects too. That might not be the most realistic, but he might exhale in this situation, or I want you to feel that release of this peace that he's trying to find by closing his eyes. And he's in nature in this field. He's feeling the grass, the wind. I want you to feel that, and then I want you to feel that relaxation from him. So again, kind of an artsy approach to that sound effect, but I think it kind of really sucks you into this clip here, because I could have just had some wind blowing here. Maybe he's still in the field, so we do some of those. But I took it a step further with an exhale just to give it that immersion that I'm looking for. That's another thing too, is I slowed down the shot of the grass here. And when it goes from fast to slow, I have an airy slice sound effect here. It gives you these, airy slices where it's like, shoo, and that just really shows like the rate of speed change that is happening in the video, that speed ramp, right? And you really feel that. And it's kind of like a windy sound effect too. So I think it plays so well right there. And then this shot here, this was shot on a psych wall in a studio, and I just shot a projector with words on his back. Not much to do here for sound design, right? However, just in case anything could come through the music, I wanted to put some atmospheric noise in there. So I have this sound effect called Nowhere from Lens Distortion. It's kind of like a room tone, but like the title says, it just kind of sounds like nowhere, like nothing, but it has a sound, which is kind of nice for clips like this. And then I knew that it was going to go into the clip of him falling into this wheat here, and then eventually into the water. And I knew that moment was going to be big, especially in the music, the song. That's the climax of the song. Another thing I like to do to make my videos feel more cinematic is to put these risers in there. And risers are another one of those cinematic sound effects that aren't realistic and don't really play to anything in the clip necessarily, but they drive the energy and the flow of the video forward. And if we listen to that by itself, it just really builds up. So we have that going into the cut, into the field, and then I've got this Gone Fast from Lens Distortions, and I'll play that one by itself, and it sounds like this. He speed ramps into the head back, right? So with all of that together, it just sounds really impactful with the riser into that whoosh. And then when he hits the water, we've got this ripple hit and this underwater submerged kind of sound effect, like bubbles underwater. And here's how it plays out. He goes into that, and then right back into a couple. Here's another example of that studio shot where I have nowhere, just like an atmospheric tone. You can kind of hear it. Real subtle, probably won't come through the sound mix with the music and all that. I just think it kind of helps just in case it comes through. Yeah, back in the field. Speed ramp into the open eyes. I put a little sound effect here from Lens Distortions. It's called Rapid Memories Whooshes. Just throw a whoosh in there. If you feel like it's missing something, try a couple of whooshes. Don't overdo it. Don't, it's not Sam Colder 2016, so use it sparingly, but throw some stuff in there, experiment, play around with it. So that's the breakdown of the video and kind of what I did and my thought process and the sounds I used. So hopefully that kind of helps you understand how you might want to sound design in your video. And there's just a couple things I want to go over on making the sounds mix well and just sound good and not gimmicky and cheesy. So the first thing is changing the volume before at the beginning of the clip and then at the end of the clip. So if we look at Among the Clouds here, we see I have the audio ramped from, -67 up to -12. And -12, most of these sound effects download loud. You want to try and keep sound effects between -10 and -20 dB. Among the Clouds, I want it for this clip with the grass whooshing in the wind, and I have it kind of coming in a few frames before that. So you're anticipating it with your ears, and then the visual comes and it just feels like it flows so nicely into the next thing. The other thing I like to do to kind of give it more depth and not make it sound so in your face and up close when it doesn't need to be is add some reverb. There's a really good plugin, it's free, it's called Soundly Place It. I'll link it below, it's totally free, you just download it. Great resource to help things sound like it's not right in front of you or recorded, on the camera right next to it. If you want something to sound far away, like footsteps or whatever. Okay, the last thing I just want to cover is kind of simple and straightforward, but I feel like when I started out, I neglected this, is just stacking sound effects. Like, don't just throw in like Among the Clouds here for this, whooshy grass shot. I do Among the Clouds for the big, bassy whoosh sound. But then underneath that, I've got also Bright Winds, which is more of a top end frequency sound that's going to really kind of pierce through those bass notes, right? So now I've got this full spectrum windy sound, and together it sounds better. So check it out. I'll just solo these two. We'll do just Among the Clouds, and then we'll do Bright Winds with it. Now watch how much better this sounds. It's so subtle, but it helps. And then we can add this wind swells, and now hear how full this sounds. That had that really had it. So I've got my high ends with the bright winds. I've got my mids with the with the wind swells, and then I've got my low end with the Among the Clouds. And now we've got 3 different kinds of wind sounds basically for this one clip right here. So don't be afraid to stack sounds. Don't be so neat with it. Have it fade off. It kind of sounds good going into the shot of the guy's face here, with that windy sound. It could still be windy, I don't know. Take it too far and then pull it back a little bit. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you learned something. I hope this helped. I'd love to see what kind of sound design you guys are doing in your projects, what you're working on. So if you want to comment down below with a link or DM me on Instagram or whatever and send me what you're working on, I'd love to take a look at it. I can give you some feedback. I just love talking to you guys and seeing what you're working on. And I'm a real person, and so are you guys. So I want to talk to you, and appreciate you guys making it this far. Sorry this video kind of went long. But I think there's a lot of good information here, and I just find this so important. So I wanted to share this with you guys. Hit me with any projects or questions in the comments below, and check out the links in the description for everything I was talking about. And I'll see you guys in the next video.